Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Autism Rocks and Rolls podcast hijack series. I should mention we still have the smoke alarm issues, and I do apologize for that. But hey, as they say where I'm from, and I think where he's from too, it is what it is. Anyway, our guest today is fellow autism advocate and spouse Ray Robinson. Mr. Robinson, how are we doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, man. Why don't you take your way and tell us a bit?
Okay, a little bit about me. I was personally officially diagnosed autistic myself 2 years ago, and I am currently 54, so I was very late in life diagnosed. My wife was actually diagnosed a year before me, and she's the one that pretty much said, "You need to do this. You need to find out more about yourself and get diagnosed." A little bit about myself. I have bounced from career to career for all this time, starting out in graphic design, moving into sales, and eventually I needed to make a complete change in career. And now I run medical lasers in operating rooms for various doctors around the southern Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio regions. Um, so that's really kind of the basics of me. I do a lot of theater and writing as well. So I've tried to access what I learned from watching people in autism to apply that to roles that I play. So I think that has kind of helped me in all those various incarnations of stage and screen. So that's kind of the general background on me.
Okay, is there anything else, brother, in the Zoom you want to answer?
Yeah, kind of going through the questions that are lined up here. Being married to somebody with autism and how that impacts my marriage. Neither one of us really knew when we first got married that we were autistic. And my wife, one of her autistic traits is being a voracious researcher. And once she got the idea that she has autism traits. She did a lot more examination of what those were, and the whole time saying, this applies to you too. And so I would kind of take it in stride. I'm like, "Yeah, that's nice. Of course, I'm sure all of us have some of those traits." But she kept saying that over and over and over again, and I realized, oh, okay, well, maybe there's more to this than I thought. So she went and got herself tested. She actually went through a large battery of tests and some written tests, an interview with a psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm not sure which one. But after going through about 3 months of testing, they confirmed that yes, she is autistic. And she said, okay, now you probably need to double check because one of the things that she found in her research is that people that are neurodivergent are attracted to other people that are neurodivergent, and the neurotypicals tend to not communicate very well with us. And so I went ahead and scheduled my test, and mine was simpler, but also harder. Simpler in that I didn't have any written questions that I needed filled out, but a little more complex because I got a different psychologist than she did. And he was old school. He was somebody that didn't believe that some of the things some of the recent changes that had been made were genuine. So he basically just kind of grilled me with questions. At one point, he basically blatantly told me, "You're wrong about the definition of that particular thing you mentioned," and I just something it was something I knew I was not wrong on, and I just kind of blinked a couple of times and went, "Okay, well." Moving right along. And I guess there was something in how I said that. Instead of being confrontational with him and saying, I disagree, I'm correct on this, and here's why. I guess the fact that I was open and willing to listen and learn to what a different definition might be, I think that sparked something in him. to say that, yeah, you are on the spectrum. And I think it was a test, quite honestly, because afterward he said, yeah, I looked up the definition and you were right about that. But at the time, he was incredibly confrontational about it. And I think he was trying to provoke a response. And since my response was not to get angry back, it was just to take in what somebody had corrected me on and make a note to like inform myself a little bit more later. I think that was what was the tipping point for him. So he officially diagnosed me. I didn't ask for any kind of special commendation, any kind of accommodations for my job because fortunately I spend about 90% of my job within the company part of it all by myself. I'm in operating rooms working with doctors and nurses constantly, but for the most part, I work on my own, schedule everything on my own. I have nobody over my shoulder. And that has made a huge difference for me in the world of in my career field. As far as my wife goes, she is an IT person, so she kind of is really at home in her autism diagnosis, and it for both of us, I think it explains so much. It's given us far more things to have conversations about. It's given us things to talk about in regards to, is this something that you do too? And try to understand each other a little bit more. In many ways, both of us getting diagnosed within this pretty much within a year of one another has given us a lot of things to discuss, a lot more things in common, and a lot to learn from each other. And I think it's only strengthened our marriage. We've been together 20 years at this point, and all of them we've been autistic, but we've only known about it for 2 years for me, 3 years for her. And so it's given us a lot to enjoy about each other that we did not have before. We are rediscovering ourselves. We're still probably the only people that are completely comfortable with taking our masks off with each other. And so we know the real person underneath all of the front-facing stuff that we put out for people to see. So it has given us kind of a you and me against the world vibe that we've enjoyed and we've joked with each other about and have appreciated about one another. Um, Looking again now at the questions here, from my perspective, how does a brain with autism operate? It is hyper analytical. Everything becomes breaking down of a process into bite-sized chunks that we have to look at those chunks and first of all, see what they are, then understand them. And once we grab the understanding of that chunk, we move on to the next one until we are able to build a full picture. I like to think of everything that I approach as a big jigsaw puzzle. I look at everything as how it all fits together. And so that helped me in my graphic design work when I was doing layouts of magazines, how to flow the text around the advertisements and the photos. Um, it's also kind of given me a way to um, understand why I was so different when I was young and why I looked at things differently than other people. Also being part of the acting scene, anytime I am watching somebody perform, whether it's on stage or on screen, I'm paying more attention to their technique, how they're communicating through their expression as opposed to their words, and trying to, number one, see if I recognize it. And then number two, trying to figure out if it's a facial expression that I've used before or I should incorporate because that expresses more of what I'm feeling in the moment. And so I look at everything entertainment wise, even though I'm maybe part of a show, but I look at it as a learning experience on what a neurotypical person would do or say so that I can blend in a little bit easier and improve my mask to where it's not only palatable to people that are talking with me, but also comfortable for me because if I understand the face that I'm putting forward to people, I feel like I'm going to actually get more in touch with who I really am in return. I like to think my autistic mask that I put up bleeds through anything that I need to know and need to learn from and shields myself from scaring people with with the way I can be direct and the way that I can view the world. Everything just turns into a giant puzzle for me that becomes a problem to solve. And sometimes I can't ever solve it, but I at least know that that is the journey that I'm going to take. But when I do solve it, it's like a big celebration in my brain. You can't get a bigger dopamine hit than solving a problem that should be easy for everybody, but for some reason it's difficult for you, but you get it finally and you go, it just makes me so much happier. The next question being, what does autism mean to me? Autism means looking at the world from a more analytical point of view than a neurotypical would. I look at the building blocks of what is going on around me. I think for me anyway, I don't know for some of the neurotypicals, but I think most of the neurodivergents I know kind of go that route. It works very well for them. And I think it's one of those things where I wish a neurotypical person could see things from my point of view. Mainly because the one thing that kind of surprises me has always surprised me about my wife and I, even long before either one of us knew we were neurodivergent, is that we never really fight. We have discussions and we bend over backwards to see each other's point of view because we want to learn what's going on up here with each of us. We want to learn how the other views the world because we know, number one, we can understand them a little bit better. Number two, we can understand the world a little bit better around us. Both of us think that the other person is the smartest person we know. I think I'm more correct though because she's got 2 degrees and I got one. So I like to think she's definitely the smarter one. But we pay attention to each other and think about what the other is trying to communicate rather than say this person is fighting with me for the sheer joy of being contrary. And it seems like a lot of neurotypical people fight with no end goal in mind other than to win a battle, when in reality, the end goal of any kind of fight, discussion, debate should be an understanding of one another. And I wish that was a trait that could be shared with more of the neurotypical people because not only do I think that they will understand us better, but they'll understand each other a lot better too. I feel like they are, I don't want to say it in such a way that is insulting, but I think that they are lacking something that we have that they don't. And I don't feel sorry for them for it because they have everything else to their advantage. But it sure would be nice for all of us if that was a communicable trait that we could share, and that was something that could be taught. I think some people can learn it if they focus. But I haven't met very many people. Every time that I talk with somebody that their end goal in a discussion or a debate is to actually learn as opposed to win a game, I find that they are also neurodivergent. And I go, "Oh, I thought we had one that I could convince, but nope." They they are pretty much just like me, and that's fine. I wish there were a few neurotypical folks out there that I could relate to a little bit more. As it is, we just kind of exist in their world, and we try to understand each other, and it gets tough at times. But I think we have to make more concessions to understand a neurotypical than a neurotypical does to understand a neurodivergent. And I think that's the wrong way that the world should be working the exact opposite, quite honestly, because I think the more logical, reasoned, analytical approach that most of us that are neurodivergent take works better for us in the long run. Advice that I would give to somebody that's on the autism spectrum. Some advice that I think I would lean more towards would be when you're younger, you don't have as many options to be yourself. It's not fair. It's not fun. It is, in many times, it's an extreme kick in the balls. And the thing is though, when you get a lot more experience under belt, not necessarily older, but more experience under your belt, you you feel appreciated a little bit more, and you understand what's going on around you a little bit more as well. I'll give an example from my past. One of my first jobs that I had was as a graphic designer for a small local newspaper. I applied for the job and got it. I was trained on two or three different graphic design programs, but the one that they were using was an older homemade program. So even though I knew the ideas and principles around doing graphic design, I had to quickly learn the new program, which wasn't too difficult. Once you kind of know one program, you got the basics before knowing the other ones. It's just knowing where the right buttons are and where to click with your mouse. But I worked really hard on learning that program. I worked primarily making classified ads for the newspaper and the occasional big display ad. And I worked really hard at that. Um, I, at that point, I didn't know that I was technically on a 3-month trial. In that time, the during that time, the person that I had replaced had had her third child, and she decided she was going to be a stay-at-home mother. And the head of the department was having her first child, and she was on maternity leave when I was hired. So she didn't hire me personally. About a month into my work, she came back to work after her maternity leave had ended, and so I got to know who was officially my boss. About a month after that, though, she sat me down and said that they were not going to continue my 3-month contract. And she gave several reasons why. I wasn't clicking, I wasn't gelling, I wasn't picking up things as fast as they were hoping that I would. And I got to tell you, it was devastating to me because this is what I had trained for in college. And being told that I was terrible at something was a real kick in the gut. I worked out the remainder of the week and left and went on to other jobs. But I found out a few months later that the two main reasons why they let me go, in actuality, the big one was that the lady that had decided she was going to become a stay-at-home mom missed her job and wanted to come back. And since they still had me on the 3-month trial, they basically said, well, let's just cut him loose. He doesn't come out with us and hang out with us on the smoke breaks anyway, because of whatever he's doing, what I was doing was learning the systems and trying to be better. But that was the other part. The part I did not get was the office politics of that small town company newspaper. I had to be a lot more social than I was. One of the things I always focused on was do your job, do it well, and you can go far. And I got smacked in the face with the cold, hard mackerel of truth in that you are surrounded by people that are constantly looking at you and judging you for things you say and do, and whether or not you fit in with the friend group. When you're younger, it's bullying. When you're older, it's being excluded. And since I was not making enough efforts, enough overtures to be social, that was a big part of the reason why it was no big deal to let me go. So at first I was angry that that's what it took. That's what I got let go for, and I was told it was my fault, and it definitely was not. But that's part of the social politics that I was not aware that I had to navigate. Um, so and of course, I had to learn from that. I had to incorporate that into my careers going forward, and I think I've if managed to do so effectively. I'm very fortunate, like I had mentioned, that I spend a lot of the time by myself. I'm usually driving from one place to another. I live in Louisville, but I'll drive to Evansville, Indiana. I will drive north to Batesville, Indiana. I will drive to Cincinnati, some places in the middle of Kentucky, just depending on where they need somebody to operate a laser. And so I spend 80% of my job on the road driving somewhere, which is great for me to prep for the day. Like if I got a 2 hour drive ahead of me, I've got 2 hours to get ready to fortify myself to be a lot more social. And then when I'm done, I've got a 2 hour drive back where I can let all that anxiety of being social bleed off, turn on the radio and jam to something, and let it just let the tension that comes from trying to fit in bleed off of me. It's probably not a job for everybody, and but it's definitely one for me, especially having worked in offices my entire life up to about at this point almost 5 years ago. So to me, the best advice that I could give to somebody that is on the autism spectrum is that it will become easier with age and time, mainly time, and a lot of experiences. Whatever you do, do not be reluctant to put yourself in a place where you can experience something, including failure. I learn more from my failure amongst the neurotypical crowd on how to work with them than I do from the successes. Anytime I get successes, I do get that dopamine hit, and I do enjoy what I've been able to contribute. But the hard the hard truth is the only growth that I've experienced as somebody in life has been when I've screwed up, when I've dropped the ball. I'm really good at just forgetting little things. So I have checklists for myself all over my van to remind me that I pick up this before I left. Did I grab this? Did I double check what kind of adapter they need? Do I have enough disposable objects that need to be used on this job? I keep those checklists there because as soon as I don't check that checklist, I get too confident and I drop the ball. And so that's one of the things I have learned about myself is what is different ways that I can cope for with all the small deficiencies that I might have as somebody that's on the spectrum. You learn more in time on how to deal with that. So if there's somebody that does manage to see this that feels like they're lost, the only thing I can tell you is that it will improve, it will get better, but you have to go through a lot of hell to get to heaven.
All right.
AJ.
I think you said I could tell that you were gonna. Bleh, I could tell you could say that's gonna be the end of your time, but I do have a couple of questions for you. So
Yes.
my first one is, I know you guys have said you don't fight, and that's awesome. But I'm gonna assume that because not everyone on the spectrum is the same person, you have some traits on the spec that are different because you are on the autism spectrum. One, what would be those traits? Two, how do you handle those?
For me, the biggest one is pattern recognition. It's one of the things that stood out to me when I was doing graphic design. Symmetry is a huge help in graphic design. The but the pattern recognition extends to more than just what I'm looking at. I won't get into great detail because nobody wants to talk about politics that much, but I follow politics very closely. It's one of my special interests. And I look at the patterns of things that occur in the political realm. And I will sit there and make predictions off of those patterns. And I say, well, this person is going to go in this direction. You just watch. And within 2 or 3 months, I see that coming to fruition. Um, I honestly would like to, if I had any kind of training in it, I would like to put myself out there as a political analyst of some kind. I do plan on getting involved in politics. I have a friend that is running for office, and I plan on helping him in that in some regards. But The biggest for me has been pattern recognition. I do have, unfortunately, one or two traits that are not as savory in that I have a hard time forcing myself to go take a shower. I'll do everything else fastidiously. I will brush my teeth. Um, I'll do everything grooming wise that I need to do. But for some reason, uh, whenever my brain says you need to take a shower, it becomes prickly and says, no, 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 stay away, stay away. Then I'm in the shower. And when I'm in the shower, it's like, okay, I needed this. I needed to clean up. But as a result, one of the things I've asked my wife to do is make absolutely sure that I am taking regular showers because for some reason, this is one blind area that I have. Um, and I'll do all kinds of little blind things things that I absentmindedly um, I'm a toe tapper, for example. If I'm sitting or I'm standing, it's hilarious when I'm in the operating room and I'm running a laser, which basically most of the time it's just turn it on and wait for the doctor to tell you to adjust something. So if they're playing music, which happens a lot in the operating room, if it's a song that I know, I'll be over there bopping. If I have the mask on, I'll be singing along without making any noise, and people will make notice of it and get a good laugh out of me just enjoying the music and but this is a stem that I have when I'm just jamming to the music because sitting still is not necessarily an option for me. I can when I focus as tightly as I can, but you probably notice I move around a lot here in this interview as well. So those are the three things that really stand out most to me and to my wife. She points out the little things that I do all the time. One of the things I do have a verbal tick that I will do once in a while, and she's the exact same way. She will have an audio tick of some kind. And one of her things that she does a lot because we know each other so well, she will start finishing my sentences while I'm talking. Um, and so typically I'll either stop talking and let her finish it for me, or I'll change what I'm saying in the middle of it just to make her realize she's following along with me. So little things that we notice about each other and we entertain ourselves with. We turn all those little things that from the outside looking in might look odd or unusual to a neurotypical. We turn them into our little in jokes and the little things that make us care about each other more than we did before.
Right, right. And I get to shower because, man, if it was a choice, I wouldn't shower. Not because I don't hate getting my body wet, it's because of the hair. For some reason, and this is just what I've noticed, when you wash your body and you get on a towel and you dry off, how quick does it usually take off for it to dry? When you wash it by about 1 or 2 seconds, to say the least.
Yeah.
But with your hair, for some reason, it sticks.
Yep.
I don't know why. I'm not a scientist. There's probably a science reason behind it, but here we are, and it sticks. I can't take that for some reason. I mean, will I do it and be like, oh darn, sure, yes. But if I had a choice, I'd wear a shower cap on my head every day and
I
avoid just brushing the
typically
hair.
I typically shave my head, and you can tell that it's been a bit since I've had my shower because I've got about almost a centimeter's worth of growth. That's about a week and a half. I showered once out of convenience last week, but I'm due for one today. I'm going to go mow when I'm done here, so I'm going to get the lawn done, and then I'll shower after that. So, but I'll shave my head. I'll shave some of this peach fuzz off. But I've just have to turn it into the task of the day, other than mowing the lawn. I have to, and I look at my wife and I'll tell her, do not let me go to bed without having had my shower today, because I will find other things that typically distract me from it, whether it's making dinner or playing with my dogs or playing a video game, she has to stop me and go, "You said you wanted to shower today, and I'm just reminding you." And I'm like, "Yes, you're right. I need to go now. I need to stop doing it now," and just and I get up. So we do that for each other. Today I got her up early because we needed to go get something notarized, and uh, then I then I got distracted. Then she said, "Okay, I'm ready." I'm like, "Oh yeah." So we
I get that. I have
we
ADHD too, and I get easily distracted. So same,
if we don't
same
do it
boat,
right
man.
then.
Now, my other question, you were talking about earlier about younger people feel like they got kicked in the balls because they don't have that independence and they just deal with anyone getting told what to do and the bullying. And then when you're older, it's exclusion. What can they do in the meantime until they become an adult to, okay, maybe the kick in the balls is like, oh boy, and it's so miserable they can't function. But maybe
Mhm.
it's just like a small kick. It's like, ooh, okay,
Yeah, a
kick's done,
shove.
going on.
Yep. What can they do? I'm going to say the first thing that you have to do is you have to look at why it happened. That's part of the deconstructing and that I had mentioned earlier that I tend to do. I will look and see what is everything that led up to that point where I got the kick or the shove or whatever, and then see is there anything that I could have done differently? Is there anything I should have done differently? The main thing that it took me a long time to learn, more people learn this quicker than me, but where I was stubborn was I had to learn the hard way. The only person you have control over is yourself. You have zero control over what people think of you. You have zero control over what people say or do to you. The only thing that you can control is how you react to that. A good example of that, and I'll get into another work experience here. A good example of that is when I was doing sales. I had a boss that, without being, without exaggerating, he was incredibly narcissistic and controlling, which is painful for anybody that is neurodivergent because we expect anybody that we deal with to be kind of open and honest about what they're trying to achieve and what they want you to do. But there was absolutely none of that with this gentleman. And after it took me a long time to really kind of figure out that no, this guy is not typical. He's only out for himself in the world. Unfortunately, he was not only my boss, but the owner of the company. And if I wanted to last there, I was going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And how I wound up dealing with that was when it came to him, I completely changed my mask into the thickest armor that I could manage. And I would intentionally give him the smiling face. Anytime he would talk to me, I would just nod appropriately, nod when I'm supposed to, ask for feedback, give him very little. And it got him upset because he used to be able to just get me all frustrated, upset, angry, and we would even get into shouting matches. And I always expected to be fired at the drop of a hat, but he was never going to fire me because I became one of his favorite punching bags. So what I wound up doing was taking away all those tools one by one. And I finally wound up to the point where I would give him absolutely nothing to work with. Just sit there and smile and nod, listen to him, very little feedback. And it frustrated the hell out of him. It made it a game for myself at that point. And to this day, I'm the only person that has ever worked for him longer than 5 years. I worked for him for 11 years. And the main reason I stayed that long, I wanted to get out sooner, but my wife also has a lot of physical issues that she had to deal with, some operations And so she wasn't able to work. I was the sole source of income and the only person with health care that she had to sign up on. So I wasn't going to rock the boat as far as my career goes. But once she got to the point where she had gotten a lot of her physical issues taken care of, she got her official diagnosis and was able to figure out how to incorporate that into the work world. She started a job, and once she had been at that job for, I think it was a year and a half, once because she had never lasted more than a year and a half in any job beforehand, partly because of her physical limitations and partly because of her autistic traits that were not comfortable for other people to be around. But when she finally got to a place where she had been there for a year and a half and she was comfortable and she was thriving and getting regular pay raises, I said, okay, now it's my turn to go looking, and found something within a month and got the hell out of Dodge. So that is kind of one of the ways that I wound up coping. And I had to learn that the hard way. Then if there's anything that I'm going to impart one more thing is that everything that you learn has to be the hard way, because anything that comes the easy way, you don't actually pay as close attention to it. So always be prepared. If something is hard, if something is difficult, that means that once you get through it, it is far more worthy of a result for yourself. So it's one of those keep your chin up if you can. That's sometimes that you got to go. You got to, if you're going through hell, keep going, is what Winston Churchill said. And he was absolutely right. I've lived by that. And I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in my life at this point. At 54 years old, I'm happily married, have a good career. I'm not hurting for money. I'm not rich, but I also don't double check the bank account if I got to spend 50 bucks. So, everybody can get to that point. Right now, for some that might be watching this even, it may not feel like it, but it's one of those that you have to be patient, and the person you have to be the most patient with is yourself, because you're going to fail more than you succeed. But when those successes come, they are sweet. They are sweet, sweet, sweet. So just keep an eye out for those when they come and take advantage of them.
Right. And you're going with deployment. Do you think that's a problem these days and with deployment? Because we
Mm.
ran into someone who, I won't say who, but they could get a job easy, but then they get fired right off the bat because no one will give them feedback. Do you think that's a problem we're running into with bosses?
It's a huge problem. And unfortunately, it's not one that I think will ever change. So we have to figure out how to adapt to that. Um, the things that I would recommend is doing what you can without being, I guess, obnoxious about it, is explain right away. Say, when it comes to me and instructions, I'm I'm going to ask a lot. As a matter of fact, I would even do this in the interview. A lot of people don't think about the fact that interviews are are a two-way street. They are interviewing you for a job, but you are also interviewing them. And a lot of people don't think about that because the job market is so rough right now. But the one thing that you do not want to do is set yourself up for failure. So when you're in the interview, even before you get the job, you don't necessarily have to say, I am autistic, or I've been diagnosed, or I believe that I am. But what you can say is one of the things that I've learned about myself is that I will ask a lot of questions. And just explain, I don't like to take anything for granted. I think that particular sentence has gotten me further in explaining to people why I want to ask them so many questions. It's no matter what, you're going to run across somebody that gets annoyed with being asked questions because they believe you should just know how to do something for whatever reason. So there's only so much you can do to deal with a person like that. But if you do get somebody that's a little bit more understanding, and you start out with telling them, look, I am going to ask you a lot of questions because I don't like to take anything for granted. I like to get things right the first time. And So I'm going to pick your brain like crazy. I think that affords people a little bit more time and a little bit more grace when they are dealing with somebody like me because they are now aware. They've been told that this is going to happen. And so they're a little bit more prepared for it. It's not going to, there's, like I mentioned, there's going to be some people that it's just going to grate them the wrong way. The challenge in life is finding the people that can deal with that, that can understand that you take absolutely nothing for granted. I've worked it out with one of my supervisors that I don't do as well talking on the phone to get instructions. I'll say, they'll tell me things, I'll try to write them down, but I'll also throw them a quick text to clarify points. And they realize I'm better on text because then I can look at the words, I can take them in and absorb them a little bit more. So I've managed to find supervisors that are willing to work with me and my quirks and fables and all the things that make me who I am. I think a few of them do know that I have an official diagnosis, but I've never asked for anything special, so nobody really thinks about it probably. But I think every time I start asking those questions that they think should be commonplace, they're quickly reminded that, yeah, I'm a little bit different. But because I ask those questions and I become so fastidious with following all the instructions, it's also afforded me high marks and consistent raises for almost 5 years now. As a matter of fact, I just got a raise last week from my annual review, and everything was marked as, you can improve on this, but you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and that's what we like. And that's the kind of place that you want to work for, are the ones that will tell you you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. We want to see more out of you. So number one, you're able to tell them, you're able to show through your work that you are effective and giving them what they want. What they really need, though, is like beyond. I mean, it's like I said that backwards. You're giving them what they need. If they want to, if they want something they want from you, they have to be very explicit with you, and you got to make sure that that's clear to them. So when I had my review, we talked about the fact that I was meeting all my expectations. But there are some people that are able to do more, and they want to see what else I can do beyond that. And we found something actually that I can do. We do some computer work with one of the things that we do in our realm. It's what we call Euronav, and what they do is they take CAT scan images and they upload those to a machine that we have called a Euronav, and that works with ultrasound equipment so that they can identify spots on the prostate that need biopsies to see if they're cancerous. So one of the new jobs that I'm going to be starting very soon is I'm going to be the one chasing down all those images and picking them up from the various places that took those CAT scans, making sure that they are formatted properly. Then I'm going to store them on a mainframe where our technicians can pull that information down and utilize them. So the job requires me to be very good on the computer, which I've got that experience. It requires me to be good on the phone, talking to people and encouraging them to get those images to us as soon as possible, which is in a kind of like a sales role. So I've got the experience in that as well. Plus, I've had a little bit of training on the equipment, so I know exactly what those images are used for and why they're important. So it just made sense for me to take up this role now that our company is expanding. And I'm going to be doing that exclusively for the Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky region, and possibly building upon that further as our region expands. And basically, I've started to create a niche job for myself within the company. And that kind of boils down to when you find the right place and you find the right people to work with, and you're going to go through a lot of people. Believe me, it's so hard to find somebody. If you're in your 20s or 30s, it's so hard to find the place you're going to be at for your whole career. but now I think I found that. It took me until I was about 49 to really find the right place. And but now I'm able to find not only that I'm doing the job well, but I'm able to carve out my own place in the work world. And as a result, I'm going to find more job satisfaction and more rewards, both financial and self-esteem.
Right, I can see that. Again, though, we gotta wrap her up here, but thank you again so much for your time, man. You were awesome.
Well, wonderful. I greatly appreciate you having me on the show. I love what you're doing here. And to anybody that is out there struggling, do be assured that you're going to be struggling for a bit. There's no if, ands, or buts about it, but it is worth it in the end. You are going to find your place in this world, not only in your career, but in your personal life and just where you fit in all aspects of society, and you're going to be smiling soon.